Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. And for today's show, it's going to be a fun one. We finally get to make those picks for the divisional round games going on this weekend. We got Falcons, Eagles, Patriots, Titans, Vikings, Saints, and Jaguars versus Steelers. We're going to be making those picks. We're going to start off with the Saturday games for the first segment, do Sunday games for the second segment. And then for the third and fourth segment, we're going to continue what we did on Tuesday. All right, we talked about two divisions from each conference, talked about the teams currently not in the playoffs and what they need to do in the offseason in order to get better. All right, for the AFC, we're going to do the AFC East and the AFC West, and then for the NFC, I believe it's the NFC North, I believe, and then the NFC East. I know it's the NFC East. Yeah, NFC North and NFC East. So we'll be doing those for the third and fourth segments. Really looking forward to doing that because those are always fun to talk about. Talk about what teams need to do better and all that good stuff. Let's see. So should we get started with the picks for this weekend? Let's see. Is there anything else that I need to mention going on in sports? Oh, Vic Fangio, or actually, you know what? I'll talk about that when I talk about the NFC North. All right, let's get into it. First game. Which game do we want to do? I think we want to do the Patriots and Titans game. Let's get into it. All right, Patriots currently 13.5-point favorites. Vegas usually knows what they're talking about. All right, but everyone thinks that this game is going to be a huge blowout. It's Tom Brady, future MVP winner. Patriots, all they do is win. They've been winning Super Bowls. The Titans are no good. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, most of that's true. Most of that is true. All right. But I don't think it's going to be as much of a blowout as everyone thinks. The Titans are not a bad team. If they were a bad team, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying like they're not the best team or anything like that, but they're not as bad as everyone's making them out to be. All right. If you remember last week, they were down 21-3, came back, won 22-21. The ultimate Kansas City Chiefs choke right there. No, I still take the game against the Colts where they blew that one. But nonetheless, Titans, they came back and they won. All right. And you know what? Yeah, that whole Patriots are going to win the game. Yeah, it's true. Patriots are going to win this one. That's my pick. I got the Patriots. But it's not like this game is over before it starts. Actually, you know what? It might be. But there's a reason why it's going to be close. Not like 5 points close or anything like that. Like 10 points close, around there. All right. I know that's not that close, actually. But, I mean, it's the best the Titans are probably going to be able to do. All right. So here's what the Titans got to do in order to have a chance to win this game. No DeMarco Murray in this one. He's going to be out. So Derrick Henry is going to be the featured back. Last week he got 23 carries. This time let's give him anywhere from 25 to 30 carries. All right? Give him the ball. Let him run. Let him do whatever he can with the ball. All right? So that's first off. Give Derrick Henry the ball a bunch of times. He's not going to have trouble getting through this Patriots front seven. I'll tell you that much. All right? Then we got Marcus Mariota. Hasn't looked that good this season. I think he finished second or third in interceptions among quarterbacks, obviously. And last week he did throw an interception to Marcus Peters. I did call that one, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know. I did call Marcus Peters picking off Marcus Mariota. But I think he's going to be better than what he was last week and what he's been so far this season. All right. I don't know if he's going to be throwing any interceptions. I mean, this year he just hasn't made good decisions at all. Just hasn't looked like how he has. I think, what is this, his third season? Ooh, that means he's going to be up for a contract pretty soon. Him and Jameis. Let's see. If I had to pick between those two, I'd go Jameis. But getting back to the point, Marcus Mariota just hasn't played well this season, and I think he's going to pick up his play a little bit this Saturday against the Patriots. I don't think he's going to be great. He might not even be good, but I think he's going to be average. All right. He just really needs to figure it out. He needs to figure out a way to get Delaney Walker more involved, get Rashard Matthews more involved, and get Corey Davis more involved. Corey Davis has the tools to be a good receiver. All right, but I feel like the way Marcus Mariota has played this so far this season, he really hasn't been able to utilize those tools because his quarterback just hasn't been playing well. All right, so like I said, as far as offense goes, you've got to run the ball, run it some more, and then run it some more again. Marcus Mariota, make good decisions, make good throws, take off with the ball when you need to. Just be the guy that you were the last 2 seasons. All right, because remember, Marcus Mariota's red zone stats were incredible. I think for this year, I'm not sure about his red zone stats this year, but his first 2 years, he didn't throw an interception in the red zone. And yeah, he was just throwing touchdowns in there constantly. No interceptions. This year, I'm not sure what it is, whether it's the coach or whether it's just one of those years, but he just has not looked good. All right, so that's what they got to do. And as far as the defensive side of the ball goes, stop the run. Stop Dion Lewis. All right. Believe it or not, these are not the Patriots we all know and have watched. All right. Believe it or not, Tom Brady has taken a dip in his play. It's not the same old Tom Brady. All right. So Tennessee needs to figure out a way to limit Dion Lewis. And they got to figure out a way to limit Rob Gronkowski. And that's where we talk about the Patriots, where they come in. All right. Rob Gronkowski, if he is able to do whatever he wants, Titans got no chance. They got to figure out a way somehow, some way to limit him. That's the X factor on the Patriots offense right there. That's the guy. If he does what he wants, Titans ain't got no shot, all right? And as far as running the ball, I really don't like the fact that I think that the Patriots are going to have to win this game on Tom Brady's shoulders alone. Because I don't think Dion Lewis is going to have that good of a game this weekend on Saturday. Tennessee last week limited Kareem Hunt to about 11 carries, 47 yards, I think it was, somewhere around there. I mean, Andy Reid did have a little hand in limiting Kareem Hunt too because he refuses to give the ball to his second best player when his first one's out with a concussion. So yeah, that's a whole nother thing to talk about in a different day. But yeah, Tennessee's rush defense has been really good all year, and I think they're going to be able to limit Dion Lewis, and I think they're not going to have too much trouble doing it. All right, so then it's going to come down to Tom Brady and his arm. Is he going to be able to do it? Probably, but I mean, the last 5 weeks or so, Tom Brady has not looked that good. All right, you might see it as me being a Patriots hater or whatever. Go check the stats. He just hasn't been playing well. All right, and he's going to win MVP this year. That's no doubt, but he's going to win MVP by default. All right. He's going to win MVP because Carson Wentz tore his ACL. He's going to win MVP because Antonio Brown tore his calf muscle. And he's going to be MVP because the voters just aren't going to vote for Todd Gurley. All right. Tom Brady, I think he's near the league lead in passing yards. But he's been this year. Let me see if I can pull up the stats, actually. Let's see if we got it. 2017 regular season passing. Let's see. Man, we can't go all year. All right, so it's not going to let me do all year. Thanks a lot, ESPN. But Tom Brady, let me see if I can pick up his stats from his Week 17 game against the Jets. Let's see. Where are you at, Tom Brady? Tom Brady against the Jets. They won 26-6, completed 18 out of his 37 passes, had 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, was sacked twice. All right, that doesn't look too good. Let's see. Week 16, how did he do? Tom Brady, where you at? Tom Brady, where you at? Let's see, where's Tom at? I can't find him. Near the bottom. Oh, there he is. Against the Buffalo Bills, 21-28, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. All right, so Tom Brady isn't going to be throwing 3 touchdowns or anything like this game. He just hasn't been playing well. And that's the thing that scares me about the Patriots. I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball. Okay? So I'm not sure. I mean, I trust Tom Brady enough to help get them the win, but it's going to be tough for them. But like I said, I got the Patriots winning this one. I just don't think the Titans are good enough to beat a team like the Patriots right now. But I mean, going into the AFC Championship next week, whether it's playing Pittsburgh or playing Jacksonville, I don't like the Patriots' chances. So that's what I got to say about that game. Now let's talk about the other game going on Saturday. The Philadelphia Eagles are facing off with the Atlanta Falcons in Philly. All right, Nick Foles, starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not sure how well he's going to play. He could be really good. He could be really bad. I have no clue whatsoever. That's why I can't pick the Eagles in this one. If I knew exactly what I was getting with Nick Foles as the quarterback, I'd probably be able to make my pick easier. If I knew that he was going to be serviceable and play well, I'm going with the Eagles. But I don't know how well he's going to play. All right, this game for the Eagles, in order for them to win, and that's one thing too. All right, I understand that I'm not picking the Eagles to win this game, but I'm at least giving them a chance to win this game. I'm at least thinking that they have a shot to win this game, all right? I'm not out here like the other writers and reporters talking about how the Eagles have no shot with with Nick Foles playing quarterback and just giving them no respect. No, the Eagles are going to make this a game, I feel. All right, in order for them to do that, they got to run the ball a bunch with J.J. and LeGarrette Blount. J.J. was traded to the Eagles midseason for a fourth-round pick. All right, the Eagles had a bye right after that, so he was able to learn the playbook a little bit and try and learn the scheme. All right, but it's difficult for a player like that to go to a team like this and just boom, be ready. You can't be. All right, so I'm more thinking of the fact that, you know what, he had another bye week right here, more time to learn the playbook, more time to learn the scheme, and more time to get integrated with the offense. I think that this is the week we finally see J.J. break out with the Eagles, and I think he's going to have a good game. All right, but either way, good game or not, they need to get him the ball a bunch of times. You need to get LeGarrette Blount the ball a bunch of times, all right? And as far as the receiving end, Alshon Jeffrey needs to get open, and he needs to help Nick Foles out more than Nick Foles helps out him. Same with Zach Ertz. They got to get open. They got to give Nick Foles opportunities, easy opportunities for him to get the ball to him. Don't make Nick Foles work for it, all right? Help him out more than he can help out you. All right, those are the top two players on that offense. Top two receivers on that offense. Obviously, Zach Ertz playing tight end, but you get what I'm saying. All right, Torrey Smith's not going to be able to help out the Eagles. From what I hear and from what I see, Torrey Smith just has been a disappointment all year. All right, Nelson Aguilar, not sure what he's going to do this weekend. It's week to week with him. All right, so Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz got to get open. But that goes without saying. All right, and as far as Philly's defense goes, you got to limit Julio Jones. Julio Jones has yet to have a bad game in the playoffs, I believe. And the Eagles need to make that game this one. If they're able to limit Julio Jones, not even stop him, just limit him, they got all the chance of the world to come out with this win. All right, and now let's head over to Atlanta. What do they need to do? Let's start off with the defense first. Stack the box. All right, without a doubt, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be running the ball a bunch of times in this game. Stack the box, force Nick Foles to beat you with his arm. All right, watch Zach Ertz. Take him away. Okay. You're not going to be able to limit him and Alshon Jeffrey, I don't think, both. So if I had to pick one to stop, it's going to be Zach Ertz. Okay? Plus, Atlanta's got a good enough secondary to where they can probably limit a guy like Alshon Jeffrey. They can definitely take Torrey Smith out the game, and they can probably limit Nelson Aguilar, so they got to do that. All right? And as far as offense goes, get Devontae Freeman going early. Okay? Get him and Tevin Coleman going on early. Get him a bunch of touches. Get the running game going. Look for Mohamed Sanu. Look for Julio. All right. Atlanta should win this game because they are the better team right now. They are playing like the better team. So I got Atlanta in this game. But I feel like we need to give Philly a chance too. Like I said, I think they're going to keep it close. They're going to keep it a good game. But I just think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be able to pull this one out. So like I said, I got them going. I got them winning, and I got the Patriots winning. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and Pittsburgh Steelers games. All right? So it's going to wrap it up for this segment. Like I said, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. In that last segment, I made my picks for the Atlanta Falcons Philadelphia Eagles game. I'm going with Atlanta on that one. Think Philly deserves a little bit more respect than what they're getting, but nonetheless, I got Atlanta. Talked about the Patriots Titans game, and you know what? I got the Patriots. Obviously, that's probably the easiest game to pick. All right, but now we're going to talk Minnesota Vikings, New Orleans Saints. We're going to talk Jacksonville Jaguars and Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's get into it. Let's talk Vikings Saints first. All right. So this is my lock pick right here. This is the pick right here. I mean, it could be the Patriots Titans game, obviously, but that's way too easy. All right. This is my lock pick. And you're going to find out who it is after I'm done talking about what I think how the game's going to end up. All right. So for the Minnesota Vikings, let's talk about the Saints first. What do they got to do to beat the Vikings? What they got to do is they got to get Kamara and Ingram going early. Get them the ball. Last week they struggled. Only about 43 yards combined rushing the ball. Only about 23 yards combined receiving the ball. Only one touchdown between the two, and that came near the goal line for Alvin Kamara. All right, so you got to get those two going early. If you don't get them going early, then it's going to be difficult because if Minnesota's doing well to limit them, it's not going to be how it was last week against Carolina. All right, the biggest problem Carolina had last week was that they had a terrible secondary. Let Ted Ginn do whatever he wanted against that secondary, and Michael Thomas had a big game. Michael Thomas is a top 3 receiver. I understand that. All right, but I just don't think that he would have had that huge of a game if Carolina's secondary would have played a whole lot better. All right. Against Minnesota, I still think he's going to go for near 80, 100 yards, probably in between there. But it's not going to be 130 like how it was last week, I believe it was. All right. So New Orleans has to get Kamara and Ingram going. That's the key to beating the Vikings. All right. Because if you can't stop them, you're going to have trouble stopping the wide receivers because you're not going to know what's going to come and hit you. So they got to get those guys going first. All right. Brandon Coleman's going to be out. So you're only going to have Ted Ginn and Michael Thomas. Not sure whatever happened to Willie Snead. All right, you got Josh Hill out there too, the tight end, but it's really going to come down to Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn at the receiving core. That's going to be tough because Minnesota has one of the better secondaries in all the league. All right, so first and foremost, get the ball to Kamara, get the ball to Ingram. Get them going. And on defense, you got to figure out a way to get to the quarterback. Defensive line really hasn't played that well so far this season. Cameron Jordan's a beast, but I mean, other than that, he's the only one who's really doing anything. All right, so they got to figure out a way to get to the quarterback. You got to figure out a way to limit Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. Marshawn Lattimore, I'm sure he's going to be on Diggs, and whoever's the slot corner is going to be covering Thielen unless Thielen's on the outside. All right, so they got to figure out a way to do that, and you got to figure out a way to take both Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon out the game. Because if one doesn't have a good game, then it's almost a given that the other is going to play well. That's how it's been all season since Dalvin Cook went out. All right, so they got to figure out a way to do that. As for Minnesota, obviously, what you need to do is do exactly what Carolina did last week as far as containing Kamara and Ingram. You do that, and you have all the chance in the world to win. Because like I said, Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn, they're not going to have the games they did last week against this Vikings secondary. I'll tell you that much right now. All right. So they got to do that. They got to pretty much put some pressure on Drew Brees. And if I'm them, I'm playing man defense and I'm stacking the box. All right. Because, like I said, New Orleans' game plan, offensive game plan, it doesn't go through Drew Brees anymore. It goes through Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. Those are what makes the offense go. Those two players. All right. Drew Brees can't do it on his own anymore. Last week, you could say that he did, but against a defense like this, he's not going to be able to do it on his own. So they got to, first and foremost, stack the box, stop Kamara, stop Ingram, especially Kamara. Do not let him receive the ball at the backfield. If he does, do it how the Falcons did with Todd Gurley last week. Hit him as soon as he gets the ball. Do not let him get into open space, because if you do that, then that's a whole nother dimension of the offense you got to deal with. All right? So you got to stack the box and make sure Kamara does not get outside and does not receive the ball, because if he does, then you're in big trouble. And like I said, Drew Brees can't do it on his own against his defense, so that's the biggest thing right there. As far as offense goes, Case Keenum, don't try to do too much. Play how you've been playing all season long. Don't try and go throwing for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, or anything like that. Be safe. Okay? Go out there. I'm sure Case Keenum, I'm more confident in Case Keenum than I would be in a guy like Nick Foles this week. All right? Case Keenum, I think, is going to go out, have a decent game. He's going to go out, throw for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe a little bit more yards, maybe a touchdown more. All right? Minnesota needs to have their running game working too. Whether it be Latavius Murray or Jerick McKinnon, one of them has to get going. Case Keenum needs all the help in the world, all right? You're playing against a team who's been in the playoffs before. You're playing against a quarterback who's been in the playoffs before, a quarterback who's won the Super Bowl before. Well, obviously, he's not the same quarterback that he used to be, but he still knows what it takes, and he still knows how to help this team prepare. All right, same with Sean Payton, the coach. He's won a Super Bowl before. He knows what it takes. All right, and Case Keenum, third downs, look for Adam Thielen constantly. Marshall Lattimore's not on him. I'm sure Adam Thielen's going to have a great game. And maybe get a guy like Laquan Treadwell finally going. Last year, he was their number 1 pick. I believe he was like the 14th pick or around there. Or no, that was Larry Tunsil. Laquan Treadwell was like 21st pick, I believe. Something like that. All right. See if you could get him going. So far, he really hasn't played up to expectation standards. But figure out a way to get him going. Because Stephon Diggs, really, I don't think he's going to have that much of a good game if Marshawn Lattimore's covering him. Obviously, I think Adam Thielen's going to play well. So figure out a way to get Laquan Treadwell going. All right. Pretty much this game is going to come down to the Vikings defense versus the Saints offense. I'm sure this Vikings offense is going to be able to put up enough points to where they could have a chance at winning. But the Vikings defense, it all comes down to limiting Kamara and Ingram. If they can't do that, then they have no shot whatsoever. I think they're going to be able to, but like I said, that's like they have to. That's what the game comes down to. All right? And you know what? I think they're going to. So I got the Vikings in this one. That's my lock pick this week. I'm not going to make it the Patriots because that's way too easy. All right? I'm going to go out on the edge right here. Vikings, lock it down. They're beating New Orleans. Okay? They're playing at home. You know what? If they beat the Saints and my prediction of the Falcons beating the Eagles goes right, boom, you got another home game right there. All right? And if somehow you beat the Falcons, then boom, you got another home game, which is the Super Bowl. So the Vikings really just got to come out and play well early on. So we'll see how it all ends up, but I got the Vikings. All right, now for the final game of the weekend. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars facing off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you remember the last game these two teams played, Steelers got blown out of the water. The Jaguars defense had Ben Roethlisberger questioning whether or not he still had it, meaning whether or not he could still play in this league. The guy threw, 5 interceptions, I believe it was. Played about as poorly as you could. All right, Le'Veon Bell couldn't do anything against this team. 15 rushes, I believe, 47 yards. I think did have like 10 catches, but still couldn't do anything that way. All right, so, I mean, as far as Jacksonville goes, let me see. All right, yeah, I got Big Ben stats right here. All right, so Big Ben stats, yeah, just to be clear. Remember, Pittsburgh lost that game 30-9. Big Ben had completed 33 out of his 55 passes, had 312 yards, no touchdowns, 5 interceptions, got sacked twice. Quarterback rating was 37.8. Brutal. Let me see if I can get Le'Veon Bell's numbers too, so I know exactly. Le'Veon Bell, where are you at? You're going to be near the bottom. All right, Le'Veon Bell, 15 carries, 47 yards, 3.1 yards per rush. 15 was his longest. That was it, though. All right, so Le'Veon Bell, in this game, let's talk about Pittsburgh on offense first, all right? So, like I said, Big Ben threw 5 picks last game. Le'Veon Bell couldn't get anything going. Antonio Brown's going to be back. It's looking like he's questionable right now, but I'm sure he's going to play. So you got that going for you. But he's not at 100%. I know that for a fact. There's no way he could be back at 100% after only missing about 3 weeks on a torn calf muscle. All right? So he's going to be back. If I'm the Jags, I'm putting A.J. Boye on him. I've been saying it all week. Put him on him. Don't bother wasting Jalen Ramsey on Antonio Brown. A.J. Boye is a top 10 corner or top 5 corner in this league. He can handle less than 100% Antonio Brown. At least do what he can to limit him. I'm not sure, because Antonio Brown is the best receiver in this league, so I'm not sure what a less than 100% Antonio Brown looks like. All right? So that's why I'm throwing A.J. Boye on. I think he can handle him. I'm putting Jalen Ramsey on Martavis Bryant, or not Martavis Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster. For the Steelers, in order for them to play a good game on offense and then have a chance at beating the Jaguars, because this defense is the best in the league. All right, this front seven is going to limit Le'Veon Bell again. Okay, I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was last time, but he's not going for 100 yards or anything like that. All right, he might get near 60, 70 yards, maybe. Okay, Martavis Bryant is the X factor on this offense. He's not going to have Ramsey on him. He's not going to have Boye on him, I don't think. All right. Figure out a way to get him going. You need one player against his defense that you can look to consistently throughout the game and you know is going to produce. It's not going to be Antonio Brown, and I don't think it'll be Juju Smith-Schuster. All right? So they got to figure out a way to get Martavis Bryant in the game going well. Okay, because these tight ends, they're not going to be a factor either. So they really got to figure it out on offense, get the ball to Martavis Bryant. On defense, I don't think they're stopping Leonard Fournette. He had one of his best games against the Steelers defense this season. All right, I know that these two teams are different. They've grown, they've gotten better. But nonetheless, the Steelers don't have a defense that's capable of stopping Leonard Fournette, I feel. So in order for the Steelers to have a better chance of winning this game, you got to pretty much make Blake Bortles look like a bad quarterback again. All right, last week he only threw for, 87 yards? I think, did he throw an interception? I don't think he threw an interception, just didn't play well, though. All right, force him to make mistakes. Put pressure on him. And now talking about Jacksonville on offense, like I said, get the ball to Leonard Fournette. Continue to have him run the ball. Take the ball out of Blake Bortles' hands. Make sure it's in Leonard Fournette's. I think he's going to go for a big game in this one. All right, as far as Blake Bortles, I'm not sure how well this Pittsburgh secondary can handle guys like D.D. Westbrook, Marquise Lee, and Allen Hurns. Those are all quick, speedy guys. Pittsburgh doesn't do well to keep receivers from getting separation. So they got to figure out a way to do that. But, more often than not, it's going to be the key to beating the Jaguars is to make Blake Bortles play poorly. Make him throw a couple interceptions. All right? Like I said, get pressure on him. And as far as Jaguars on defense, there's nothing to say. We already know what they need to do. We know that they need to limit Juju Smith-Schuster. That's the guy you need to limit, not Antonio Brown. He's already going to be less than 100%. He's not going to do much in this game. All right? Stack the box, front seven, attack Le'Veon Bell. Attack him. All right? And put pressure on Big Ben. Force him to make mistakes like he did in the last game. That's what it's going to come down to. All right? And for this game, I'm going with the Jags. I think that Blake Bortles is going to play average enough to where he's not going to hurt the team. And that's all they need from Blake Bortles. Like I said, I think this running game is going to get going early, and they're going to play well. I think this defense is going to do a good job to limit Big Ben and limit the rest of those great players on offense. So it really just comes down to Blake Bortles. And I know what Blake Bortles has it in the back of his head, what people have been saying about him, because I know he sees it on Twitter or whatever it is. I know he knows about it. So maybe that's going to be something that will motivate him. But he's got to be at least average in this game for Jacksonville to win this game, which I think he probably will be. So I got Jacksonville. And you know what? That's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the AFC East and the AFC West. All right, talk about what the teams currently not in the playoffs need to do in order to get better next season. And then for the fourth segment, we'll do the NFC North and the NFC East. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. These last two segments, we made our picks for the divisional games going on this weekend. I picked the Patriots over the Titans. I got the Falcons over the Eagles. The Jags over the Steelers. That's a tough one right there, though. I mean, that could go either way, but I'm going to stick with the Jags. And then I got the Vikings beating the Saints. Alright, time to put some respect on the Vikings' name. Now for this segment, we're going to talk about the teams who are in the playoffs. All right. On Tuesday's show, we talked about Tuesday's podcast, I should say. We talked about what did we talk about? We talked about the AFC South teams and the AFC North teams. We talked about the NFC South teams and the NFC West teams, I believe. All right. So now for this one, we're going to be talking about the AFC East and AFC West, and then we'll get to the NFC divisions in the next segment. So let's start off with the AFC West, since neither of those teams are in the playoffs anymore. Let's start with the team who recently just got knocked out of the playoffs, Kansas City Chiefs. All right, first and foremost, offseason, find an offensive coordinator. All right, find someone who can run the offense that you're trying to run with Patrick Mahomes next season. All right, because I understand, well, they feel like they're going to be getting rid of Alex Smith. I'm not sure where he's going to end up. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the guy. All right, go get him another receiver to play alongside Tyreek Hill. Get him like one of those possession receivers. Tyreek Hill is more of a playmaker type of guy. Patrick Mahomes needs more of a Michael Crabtree type of receiver. I feel like if you were to get that, Mahomes would play a whole lot better than what he could be without one. All right. Let's see what else they got to do in the offseason. Oh yeah, defense. Secondary's looking nice. All right, but that front seven is getting old. What the Chiefs need to do, start bringing in younger guys to replace the older guys. Derek Johnson, 35. Tom Ali, probably going to retire. All right, start bringing in youth. If this team is ready to start winning games now. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about them getting rid of Alex Smith because I'm not sure how well Patrick Mahomes is going to play next season. All right, but they can't be wasting away this team's years because they're getting older on defense. All right, one of the biggest reasons why they let the Titans come back on him is because they couldn't stop Derrick Henry. The guy had 156 rushing yards on 23 carries. All right, start bringing in younger guys to take over. Those other guys aren't cutting it anymore. All right, so if I'm the Chiefs, I'm bringing in a receiver, a Michael Crabtree type of receiver. All right, I'm going to bring in younger guys on my defense. And first and foremost, we got to hire an offensive coordinator that can run a solid offense, unless Andy Reid is going to end up taking over play calling. All right? But I think the biggest thing that Chiefs need to do is fix that defensive front seven. That's the number one thing right there. You can do without the receiver. Obviously, they're going to get a new offensive coordinator, but they just got to get the right hire. But as far as player personnel goes, fix up their front seven, make it younger. Because if not, they're going to be in big trouble. All right, let's talk about the Chargers. Let's go Chargers. Shout out to Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, what do the Chargers need to do? Chargers are probably the most ready team to win the division next year. Let's see. Let's go through it. You got Phillip Rivers. He's getting older. Melvin Gordon, top running back in the league. Keenan Allen stayed healthy this year. Hunter Henry is a solid tight end. Let's see. Tyrell Williams is pretty good. Defense, you got Joey Bosa. You got Melvin Ingram. Chris McCain played well in the second team. The Chargers, I mean, there's not really... They got to fix up like some tiny holes. Maybe fix up the linebackers a little bit. Bring some people to play alongside Denzel Perryman. Let's see. Your secondary is looking good. Maybe fix up the offensive line a little bit more for Phillip Rivers. The Chargers, I mean, they're old, but they're getting older. But, I mean, they're in the position right now. Like, they really don't really have much to do. Oh, yeah, get a kicker. That's number one. Get a kicker. If they have a decent kicker, like a kicker who you don't have to worry about this season, they make playoffs. They lost 4 games this season because their kicker. Yeah, they recently signed Roberto Aguayo, the guy from Tampa Bay that Tampa Bay drafted in the second round, I think it was. Why? Get a real good kicker. It makes no sense to me. But yeah, they need a kicker. They need someone. Yeah, they need a kicker so they can finish out games finally. He said if they have a good one, they're not losing those 4 games that they did lose because of their kicker. All right, fix up the offensive line a little bit. I mean, defense, you're pretty much set. That defense looked great last season. Maybe pick up another receiver, maybe in the draft. But other than that, there's really not much the Chargers need to do. Kicker's number one. Maybe fix up the offensive line a little bit more. And pick up maybe a number 2 receiver or a number 3 slot guy. Other than that, I mean, the Chargers are set. They might end up winning that division next year. All right. So let's talk about the Denver Broncos. Get a quarterback first and foremost. That's what you need. Finally, John Elway, get a solid quarterback. Whether it be through the draft or whether it be Kirk Cousins. If it's me, I'm getting Kirk Cousins. All right, you already got Demaryius Thomas. You already got Emmanuel Sanders, who plays well. Demaryius Thomas has played well with what he's had ever since Peyton left. Emmanuel Sanders, you could tell he does need a solid quarterback to get him going. All right. And as far as running back goes, you take a guy like Kirk, you sign a guy like Kirk Cousins, maybe use that draft pick on a guy like Saquon Barkley. Imagine Cousins with Barkley back there. Even better. Cousins, I think I underrated Cousins a little bit. He never really had anything to work with in Washington, but he always had that team competing. And Denver, besides at quarterback, is by far a better team than Washington, so I feel like you throw a guy like Kirk Cousins out there, then they're going to be even better. So probably, I think signing Kirk Cousins is number one. I'm not sure if I trust John Elway to not take Josh Allen, I think it is, in the draft. Josh Allen, I don't think is going to be a good quarterback. And I feel that John Elway could do better. But I feel like right now, if they don't get Cousins, they're going to end up taking Josh Allen. I think that's going to be a mistake. So get Kirk Cousins, draft a running back, fix up that offensive line. And defense, you got to get younger. Start bringing in younger guys for that secondary. All right, Aqib Talib. There's not much you can do with him anymore. Chris Harris, he's still a steady guy in the secondary. Von Miller, the best edge rusher in the league. Fix up the... I mean, I feel like the defense was so bad this season, though, because of the fact that the offense was hardly ever on the field, and the offense just couldn't put up points. So, I mean, defense gives up a touchdown, boom, game's over. So, I mean, really, it comes down to getting a quarterback. That's the number one thing. Finally get a quarterback. This team should be competing. I mean, ever since Peyton Manning left, they just haven't been good. They won the Super Bowl, and then that was it. They shouldn't be wasting away these years. So go out, get a quarterback. Get Kirk Cousins. Get Kirk Cousins. But I also saw, too, that because the Bears coaches, or the Broncos coaches are going to be one of the head coaching staff, one of the coaching staffs at the Senior Bowl. Baker Mayfield's going to be there, I believe, and they requested for Baker Mayfield to be on their team. So I'm thinking that John Elway's thinking about taking Baker Mayfield in the draft. That might be a good fit for Baker Mayfield. All right, he's already got a good squad around him. All he needs to do is just be better at Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, and Paxton Lynch. I think he can do that. I think Baker Mayfield will probably end up being a good quarterback in the NFL. I've been kind of iffy about him lately, but I think he needs to go to the right team, and I think that the Broncos could be that right team for him. All right, so first and foremost for the Broncos, go get a quarterback. Now for the final team of the AFC West, the Oakland Raiders. I mean, first and foremost, get through this whole Rooney Rule investigation. All right. I'm sure they will. I'm still John Gruden is going to end up being the coach for them. And what they need to do in the draft, pretty much, go all defense. All defense to draft. All right, because that defense was the worst in the league last year. By far. By far. They were terrible. All right. Get Derek Carr healthy, because I know for a fact him coming back of the off of that back fracture after only 1 week, that's probably one of the reasons why he played so poorly this season. All right, so get Derek Carr healthy. Maybe it's time to start looking at a new running back, unless Gruden brings back Marshawn Lynch again, which I think he probably will. But I mean, you're going to need someone to take over, because I feel like after this year, Marshawn Lynch is going to be gone. So bring in his replacement. All right, figure out what's wrong with Amari Cooper's hands. All right, maybe fix up. I'm not sure. The offensive line really didn't play that well this season, but I'm not just sure if that was just due to dysfunction or anything like that, because I did see some Raiders beat reporters talking about how there was some dysfunction in the locker room. So figure that out. Get all the bad people out there. All right. Change the culture. John Gruden, I'm sure he could do that. He's an intense coach. I like the John Gruden hire to the Raiders. Paid him a bunch. He's going to be there for a while, so he's going to have a chance to develop everything. But the number one thing the Raiders got to do is fix that defense, okay? Khalil Mack should not be the only good player on that defense. Fix up the secondary. Fix up the linebacking core. All right? Fix up the rest of the defensive line. Spend the entire draft on defense. They need to do that. All right? That's the number one thing. The Raiders should have been a good team this season, but their defense was so bad, and Derek Carr didn't play that good well, so they really had no shot. All right? Probably the most disappointing team in all the league this season. All right, but first and foremost for the Raiders, go get a defense. Now, let's talk AFC East. Let's talk about the Jets. Trade up in the draft so you can get a quarterback. All right, Josh McCown's not the guy, obviously. Bryce Petty's not the guy. Christian Hackerberg is not going to be the guy. Let me see if I can pull up the draft order real quick. The Jets are currently picking 6th. All right. There's 1, 2, 3 quarterback needy teams. Browns got 2 picks in the top 4, but one of them is going to be used on a quarterback. All right. And let's see, the Giants, they need a quarterback. I'm sure they're going to end up taking a guy like Josh Rosen or Sam Darnold. It depends whoever the Browns take. The Browns take Sam Darnold. I'm sure the Giants are going to take Josh Rosen, vice versa. All right. Then you got the Denver Broncos ahead of you. Maybe, I think the move might be, if I'm the Jets, either trade with the Browns with that 4th pick. All right, you got to move ahead of Denver. They have to. Because if you don't move ahead of Denver, then you're going to end up with a guy like Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield. I'm sure if the Jets ended up with Baker Mayfield, they'd be happy with it. But with the Broncos coaching staff being on one of the teams for the Senior Bowl and them requesting Baker Mayfield, it's looking like that might be their guy. So if I'm the Jets, I'm moving ahead of them either to the number 4 pick or the number 3 pick, and I'm going to try and have my choice out. Either I want Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield, but either way I have my choice on who I want, and I don't have to wait on depending on who Denver takes. All right. Yeah. So if I'm the Jets, first and foremost, trade up in the draft, get a quarterback. All right. Let's see. What else do they need? They need a running back. For sure. Robbie Anderson looks like he could be a number 1 receiver in this league. He played well. And that defense, they're set on defense, I feel. They're really young. And I can't remember who was their safety this season, but that guy played lights out, just played really well. All right, so I mean, defense, maybe fix up one of your cornerbacks a little bit, fix up your secondary. You're good at safety. You're good at linebacker. You're good at the defensive line. All right, so really it comes down to, first and foremost, trade ahead of Denver in the draft. You don't do that, you're not really going to have too many choices at quarterback. At least if they trade up, you got your choice at Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, or even a guy like Lamar Jackson, maybe even Mason Rudolph. If the Jets were thinking about taking Mason Rudolph, you don't have to trade up. He's not going top 6 or top 5. All right, so if I'm the Jets, trade up ahead of the Broncos unless you're taking a guy like Rudolph, which I doubt they will be. If you're going to take a guy like Rudolph, might as well trade back. All right, let's see. Like I said, get a running back, but you can get those in the 3rd or 4th rounds, even the 5th round. And maybe pick up a number 2 receiver to play alongside Robbie Anderson. Other than that, though, I mean, the Jets look solid on defense. They're really young on defense, so they're quick, too. That's one thing I liked about the Jets defense. They're really quick, and they're really, they're smart. They communicate well. They don't try to overplay anything. Linebackers hit their holes, hit their gaps, and they don't try to overcommit or anything like that. So the Jets, I mean, really just get that quarterback and get a running back. Now let's talk Buffalo Bills. They got a lot to do on offense. They just fired their offensive coordinator today, I believe it was, which is Friday. So you're going to have to find a new offensive coordinator. They're probably going to end up getting rid of Tyrod Taylor. And I think that the Bills, let me see, I think their draft order, they're currently 21. They got the 21 and 22nd pick, 21st and 22nd pick, all right? So I'm not sure. I mean, if you want one of those better guys like Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, or even Josh Allen, you're going to have to trade up. I'm not sure, though, if I'm them. If I'm them, I'm taking Mason Rudolph with either my 21st or 22nd pick, and then right after that, I'm using it on a wide receiver. Okay? Their wide receiving core is terrible. Kelvin Benjamin is not the guy. He could be a solid number 2, build himself a nice little NFL career, but he's not the guy for your number 1 receiver, okay? I'm not sure if Nathan Peterman's the guy. They need to bring in someone to compete with him. And they need to get younger on the defensive line and linebacking core. Secondary is good. You got Ricky Tre'Davious White, who played extremely well this season. So, I mean, the Bills really just got to fix up that offense. That's the biggest thing right there. Go get a number 1 receiver and get a quarterback like Mason Rudolph to compete with Nathan Peterman in training camp. And then whoever does the best out of that, make your starter, okay? That's what they got to do. For the final team, Miami Dolphins. You're getting Ryan Tannehill back. It's looking like he's going to be the starter. That's what Adam Gase has been saying. All right, looks like Kenyon Drake might be your starting running back next year. He looked really good ever since J.J. left. Let's see. First and foremost, what you do in the offseason if you're Miami, extend Jarvis Landry. All right, I understand people say, yeah, he catches a lot of balls. He doesn't have too many yards after the catch. If you don't watch Jarvis Landry week in and week out, then you truly just don't know what he brings to the team. All right, he's a solid option on 3rd down. All right, he's a solid option in the red zone. Scored 8 touchdowns, I believe it was, this season. All right, in the last 4 years, he's had over, 400 receptions. The only other wide receiver to have more than 400 receptions in the last 4 years is Antonio Brown. That's it. All right. Miami's offense, you don't need a guy like him to, the way they run their offense is more dink and duck. He fits that offense perfectly. All right. Jarvis Landry is a perfect fit for the Miami offense. Extend him. That's number 1 thing first and foremost. Number 2, go out, figure out a way to get Roquan Smith from Georgia to draft him. All right. The Raiders are the 10th pick. Miami's the 11th pick. Figure out a way, maybe trade up with the 49ers and take Smith. All right. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing they got to do in the draft. If not, take a quarterback because you know what? Ryan Tannehill, he's been since he's been in Miami. Last year, he looked like he was having the best year of his career. Then he blew out his knee. Everyone was thinking, you know what? This is going to be the year Miami plays well at quarterback. Tears his knee again in training camp. This is it for Ryan Tannehill right here. All right? It's either you get Roquan Smith from Georgia or you draft a quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, one of those. All right? That's what they got to do. Secondary, they're getting Tony Lippett back. Okay, I like Xavier Howard. I like Cordrea Tankersley, the rookie. Okay, you got TJ McDonald locked up long term. You got Rashad Jones, who's one of the best safeties in the league. Probably fix up some of the defensive line in the draft. And you're getting Raekwon McMillan, the guy from Ohio State that they used on their 2nd pick last year. He tore his knee. He's going to be back after a full year of recovery. All right, so it's either draft or first and foremost, extend Jarvis Landry. Then in the draft, get Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia, or draft a quarterback with that first pick. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about the NFC North. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. And that last segment, we talked about teams from the AFC West and AFC East. Talked about the teams that aren't in the playoffs, because we've been talking a bunch about teams that are in the playoffs. We talked about the teams that aren't in the playoffs. Talked about what they need to do in the offseason, whether it's drafting people, signing free agents, or extending players on their team already. We talked about that. For this segment, we're going to do the same, except we're doing it with the NFC North and the NFC East. Let's start off with the NFC North. Let's start off with the team I'm most excited about for next season, Chicago Bears. Currently got the 8th pick in the draft. Mitch Trubisky, he showed signs last year that he could be the franchise quarterback. Got better as each game progressed. All right, they signed Matt Nagy, made him the head coach. All right, that was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs the last few years, and the Chiefs' offense looked great under him. They picked up Mark Helfrich, the former head coach at Oregon. So obviously they're going to run a fast-paced type of spread offense with Mitch Trubisky playing quarterback. All right. Let's see. They hired the offensive line coach from Notre Dame. And I know offensive line was something that the Bears struggled with this season. So hiring him out of Notre Dame always produces the best offensive lineman year in and year out in the draft. So, I mean, hiring him is only going to be a plus to fix up the offensive lineman you got now. Then now it's pretty much come down to what they need on offense to help Trubisky be successful next season. All right, they got the 8th pick in the draft, and they need a wide receiver. Let me see. Browns don't need one right now, I don't think. They're not going to be looking for a receiver. Giants, I doubt they'll be looking for a receiver. Same with the Colts. The Broncos are going to go quarterback. Jets are going to go quarterback. Tampa Bay needs to fix up that defense. And then, boom, the Bears are the first team besides the 49ers. Well, yeah, the Bears are the first team that need a receiver, then they got the 49ers right behind them. All right. If I'm the Bears, I'm taking Calvin Ridley out of Alabama with my first pick 10 times out of 10, not overthinking or anything. Mitch Trubisky needs that number one receiver, all right? Kendall Wright, Dontrell Inman could be solid number twos, slot guys, but they're not number ones. If I want Mitch Trubisky to be successful next year, I'm taking Calvin Ridley without a doubt. All right? You need to pick up Calvin Ridley, get Mitch Trubisky his number one receiver. All right? Fix up that offensive line, whether it be in the later rounds in the draft, and then probably draft a cornerback in the draft also. The Bears aren't far off from being a team who competes for the wild card next season. I'm that high on the Bears right now. I think they're going to be that good. All right? You got Josh Howard, one of the top running backs, coming off his second year, played well as your running back next year. And like I said, you got looks like a solid hire at head coach, and I really like the offensive coordinator hire. And I especially like that offensive line hire from the offensive line coach from Notre Dame. I think it's going to help out their offensive line big time this season. All right? So go out first and foremost, go get that wide receiver from Mitch Trubisky. That's the number one thing. Anything else after that, go fix up those little holes that you have left, all right? Let's see. Minnesota, they're in the playoffs. Can't talk about them. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, you got to make sure Aaron Rodgers is fully healthy. I'm sure he was when he came back, but we're not 100%, but I'm sure he felt fine. He played well against the Panthers. I mean, he threw 3 interceptions. He did come back with 3 touchdowns too. So, if I'm the Packers, I'm getting rid of Jordy Nelson, and I'm picking up a new receiver in the draft, not the first round or anything like that. Let me see I'm not sure what pick they have in this year's draft. Let me see if I can figure it out while I'm talking. But, yeah, if I'm the Packers, I'm probably going to cut Jordy Nelson. I think that he doesn't got it anymore. All right, Devontae Adams is their number one. And let's see. Packers currently, they're going to have the 14th pick. All right, so it's either go receiver with that first pick, I feel. Probably don't need to, actually, because you don't need a number one guy. Fix up the secondary. Go with a cornerback. All right. Go with a cornerback. You don't really need to fix up too many problems on offense since you have Aaron Rodgers. He's going to do well to help mask them. Fix up that secondary. All right, yeah, pretty much, yeah, go with secondary. Fix that up. First round. Probably draft another receiver because I'm saying cut Jordy Nelson. Draft another receiver later on in the draft. And fix up that defensive line too. Pretty much just spend most of your draft on defense and then pick up a couple receivers also. I mean, I think they like Jamal Williams. He played well. He showed flashes of what he could be. And he can only get better with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback because obviously teams are going to be game planning for him. So, I mean, there's really not too much for the Packers to do. I mean, the biggest problem with them, I mean, they'd be in the playoffs right now if Aaron Rodgers did not break his collarbone. So, go look at the secondary for your first pick in the draft if I'm the Packers. All right, Detroit, get a solid offense, get a solid head coach, someone who knows what he's doing, someone who knows pretty much who can take this team to the playoffs. All right. This team is wasting away Matt Stafford's years. All right. Matt Stafford should be in the quarterback or in the playoffs year after year. He's that good. He's a top 5 quarterback. All right, according to me. Probably go running back in the first round of the draft. It's time to get him like a solid actual running back. Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah have been good options, but he needs a true running back. All right, you're already set at the receiver position. Offensive line looked good this season. Eric Ebron finally looked good this season at the tight end position. And your defense was playing well all year. All right, so if I'm the Lions, I'm going running back with my number 1 pick. Maybe even check out the defensive line too for my number 1 pick if I'm the Lions. All right, so I mean, Lions don't really got much to do. Get that head coaching hire right and either go running back or defensive line with your first pick in the draft. Let's see. All right, that's all I got to say about them. Those are only 3 teams. Now let's talk NFC East. Dallas. Fix up your secondary. That's what you got. That was one of their biggest problems this year, I feel. The secondary really just didn't play well at all. All right, and that's just one of their biggest problems. Fix up the defense pretty much too. You're gonna have Ezekiel Elliott for pretty much all the season. Okay, I'm sure Dak Prescott's gonna have a bounce back year. Dez Bryant, I'm not really sure what to think of Dez Bryant right now. I mean, honestly, I think he is a bit overrated. He just really, ever since Romo left, he just really hasn't been that receiver that we all saw with Romo. All right. You're going to need to start looking for a new tight end. Jason Witten's getting older. I think you're good at the wide receiver position for now, but eventually that's going to be a position of need, I feel. So pretty much if I'm Dallas in the draft, same thing like with a team like the Oakland Raiders. I'm going defense in the draft and trying to fix it up. All right, because Dallas, I mean, they were, 13-3 the first year, 14-2, and Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott's first year. They're not a bad team or anything like that. This Ezekiel Elliott suspension really killed him, but he's going to be back. He's going to be playing all year. So fix up the defense, and they'll be fine, I feel. All right, now we got the New York Giants. Get Josh Rosen. Sam Darnold will be fine, but I feel Josh Rosen is the best option for that team. Draft Josh Rosen, have him sit behind Eli for 2 years, and then once Eli's done, he finishes out his contract, boom, Josh Rosen's ready. All right, let's see what else do they need. They need to fix up the offensive line. You're going to get Odell Beckham Jr. back. You're going to get Brandon Marshall back. All right, so if I'm them, I mean, I'm really going quarterback first pick, offensive line throughout the draft, and they need a running back too. All right, Orleans Dark was not a starting caliber type of running back in the league. Wayne Gallman was all right, but I feel like they really just need to build a team for the future finally. All right, probably trade Eli Apple. I know he was a big problem in that locker room, so they got to do that. And that's pretty much all the Giants really got to do. I mean, defense, they did have secondary problems, so maybe look at the secondary in the draft. But, I mean, I feel like offensive line, quarterback, and running back are their top 3 needs right now, so they need to fix those in the draft first and foremost. So that's what the Giants got to do. And then who else is it? Washington Redskins. I mean, I'd say first and foremost, figure out a way to keep Kirk Cousins for another year, whether it be franchising him again or locking him up to a long-term contract. Because if they don't have Kirk Cousins next year, they're going to be a bad team. All right. You know, that's another perfect landing spot for Mason Rudolph right there, the quarterback at Oklahoma State. If you're not going to sign Kirk Cousins to a long-term contract, then pick up Mason Rudolph with your first pick. I really think Mason Rudolph is going to be that one quarterback who's not really looked at in the top 5, at the top 5 quarterbacks who think is going to be really good. So probably, let's see what pick. I think they got like the 13th, 14th pick, I believe. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. Let's see. They got the 13th pick. All right. So like quarterback is going to be their number one priority if Kirk Cousins isn't going to come back. So if I'm them, I'm taking Mason Rudolph. Then fix up the defense after that. All right. Because I feel, or actually, I don't know, because I'm not sure how they're going to have Chris Thompson coming back next year. He's coming off a big injury. Okay. You got that. I mean, Josh Dotson, too early to give up on him. He was a rookie last year. Jamison Crowder was a serviceable number 2 receiver. Vernon Davis had a good year. Offensive line looked good. They were really injured, so I mean, that's not really going to be much of a problem. You just got to get them healthy for next year. So I mean, pretty much go quarterback, Mason Rudolph with your first pick if Kirk Cousins doesn't come back, and then fix up the linebackers and safeties. I feel like that's what they got to do. But other than that, though, I mean, you really just got to wait and see what you got in Josh Dotson. Eventually, you're going to need to pick up a tight end, but I feel like they can wait on that. So I mean, go quarterback and then go linebacker and safety. Pretty much draft defense after that first pick, I feel. So we're going to see what they're going to do. That's what I feel. I think that's it. Yep, Eagles are in the playoffs. So yep, that's pretty much all I got to say about the teams. I actually enjoyed doing these segments for the last couple of podcasts. That was fun to talk about. But that's going to wrap it up for today's show. First 2 segments, we talked about the divisional games. I made my picks. I got the Patriots beating the Titans, the Jags beating the Steelers, the Falcons beating the Eagles, and the Vikings beating the Saints. And then we talked about the 2 divisions in the AFC that we talked about, the AFC East, the AFC West, talked about teams who currently aren't in the playoffs, what their needs are in the offseason, and did the same for the NFC East and the NFC North. So that's going to wrap it up for our show today. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday to talk about those concluded NFL divisional games and pretty much anything else going on in the world of football. So, like I said, we'll be back on Monday. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.